Okay, good evening. Just like to call the special meeting of the Select Board on October 5th, 2023 to order. We're holding this meeting here in the Select Board, also in Select Board meeting room, rather, at Town Hall, also on Zoom. And we're here tonight to discuss and potentially vote on a request for vote process for a town manager recruitment and search consultant. And before we move to the RFQ draft that was in the packet, I just want to again congratulate Fidel on his appointment as Chelsea's next city manager. Chelsea's gain is our loss, of course, and there are big shoes to fill here, not only with all of the good things that Fidel has done over the past 20 months, but his predecessors. And so hopefully this RFQ process can begin our process, which will require a number of steps and involvement of volunteers to build on what Fidel and his predecessors have done in terms of projects in the community while maintaining our sound financial footing. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jane Wellman. And sorry, I didn't mean to pop this on you, but we've got just a request for quote here, and Jenny Merrill perhaps can also walk us through this. Jenny is from Mieres Harrington and is our procurement expert. So maybe Jenny, if you'd prefer.
I can do an intro.
Oh, sure.
That makes sense.
That's great.
Jenny can guide you through.
Yes.
This document is based on the document that was used for the last executive search. So it's almost verbatim the same. The timeline in here is my best guess based on the timelines that we used before. So it's at the discretion of the board if you feel that the same amount of time will be required if you want to go through the same level of search, considering what you had done already with focus groups and so on, and writing up the community profile, that level of work. If you want to do that depth again, this profile, these dates are based on that. So let's see, I can. This says that the board will seek to award the executive search consultant contract by October 25 and prefer to execute a contract by February 1st. That's what we're looking. This is the scope of work. This is the same scope of work as the previous search. I don't know if you want me to take you through each one of those items, but I'm sure the board's read them all. The proposed timeline here. This is a little bit revised from your first draft. This was sent out earlier. So, and I know that Mr. Maltese worked on this with you. So November 1st, the consultant will meet with the board once you've awarded that contract. November 14th, the consultant will meet individually with select board members, the screening committee, the town manager, department heads, employees, and facilitate any community listening sessions as applicable. November 21, the consultant will meet with the select board to review profile of ideal candidate. In November, the consultant will advertise the position and begin recruitment. Between November and December, the consultant will meet with the steering committee or the search committee to review all potential applicants and conduct interviews. And then January, the consultant would meet with the board to review applicants and conduct those interviews in public. So you'd have your first round, your second round. And then in January, you would negotiate with your finalist and work to create an employment agreement, and ideally an effort to execute that contract by February 1.
Jackie?
Yeah.
And just because I remember Fidel came on in February,
Yeah.
it seems like a similar timeline to Bob's.
It was similar, yeah. In that particular case, I think we put this on the street September 2nd.
Okay,
So you're about a month
Almost
later. Yeah, almost 2 months. So if you think these dates are too tight, you know, it might put you out a little bit longer, but I know that some of the work.
Given the holidays, I don't know, I guess.
You have the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have a lot of work already that kind of exists, like the community profile's been written.
Correct.
Recently,
Yeah.
some of that stuff.
Amended, right. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. And Jenny, are there any other items that we should focus on or pay attention to? I know Jane said this is largely the same version that we worked on back in 21.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfectly fine document. Again, so this is a request for quotes process. So you're going to want to, you don't have to put out notice and invite bids in here. You're asking firms to provide a quote. So you do your sort of due diligence on who you want to get a quote from ahead of time. And you want to make sure that you don't, you vet them basically ahead of time. And if it's somebody you didn't want to award a contract to, you don't ask a quote of them. There are limited consultants that do this work anyway. And then you have to award it to the lowest responsive quote. Last time you received quotes from Community Paradigm and the Collins Center, and I think you may have requested one from MRI. But those are the 3 consultants that I know of that routinely do this work.
We've had a request from another firm, Rue White Consulting in Lexington, to submit this to them. So that's
Already?
Yes.
Oh.
Through
I
White.
received that 2 days ago.
Okay.
And a note on the timeline, I think it's fine to put in a timeline here, an aggressive timeline, if you're hoping to get someone on board faster. And then if that just proves to be unrealistic, you can amend it as the project goes on.
It's just an estimate. What was your question, sir?
Oh, I found him.
GROUX. There we go. That was your question.
All right, well, questions and comments on the RFQ from the board? Mark?
Thanks, Jackie. I think I concur kind of with what you said, Jenny. I would rather be a little aggressive in our timing, and if we need to adjust, we can. I don't think they'll have to do as much upfront work, frankly. I think that we've done some of the upfront work already, so I think it'll be quicker in the process. And to have this done for February as a goal sounds great. I certainly wouldn't back off of that. I think things seem pretty reasonable. The only, I guess, comments I had were, it talks about someone who has to have been in business for 3 years and completed 3 searches in the last 5 years. We, I think, really want to have someone who's really up on the market, knows what's going on today. And I'm just wondering if that is reflected in 3 in the last 5 years, if that's the right way to put that.
So you're thinking of the quality requirements for the candidates, for your applicants. Yep.
Yeah, just want to make sure that they're very current on the market, have experience with this, and we can move forward very quickly.
I think you can, so you're looking here, the consultant shall have been in the business of providing recruitment services for a minimum of 3 years. And the lead consultant shall have completed a similar process of 3 similar positions within the last 5 years. So you would like to maybe amend that.
Yeah, I think I would want to make sure that it wouldn't screen everybody out.
Right.
If it would. But the more current they are in these activities, I think that serves us really well. What's going on, as close to today as possible, because the search is today.
So would you like to amend the last 5 years to 3 searches in the last 3 years? Or 3 searches in the last 2 years?
So 2 is probably too tight potentially, but maybe 3. But I just want to make sure that that wouldn't screen out folks that we think could do a really good job here. I don't think it would. I can't imagine it.
The 3 that you picked,
Yeah.
that would be a factor. With that, they're all pretty high profile, well known.
Got it.
It's probably for all of those firms, even the one that requested us, we fit that.
And given the way the contract would have to be awarded, if we put in something like a preference for someone who has done a couple of placements in the last year, preference wouldn't work, right? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to price.
Well, I think, Jenny, we could put in a rule for award that says something like the board may consider quality items like number of recent awards within the last year or something along those lines.
It has to go to the lowest quote of a responsive offeror. And so it's a little difficult to award to someone who's not the lowest quote, frankly, in this circumstance, because if you didn't want to award it, if you didn't think they were qualified, you shouldn't have asked them for a quote. That's what's difficult with the request for quotes. So I would just be, I can't imagine that the vendors that you're looking at, the consultants wouldn't be able to fit into that requirement that you mentioned, Mark.
3 for 3 or 3 and 3? 3 candidates, 3 years or the.
Three
Okay.
candidates, 3 years.
So I would suggest we amend to do that.
I'll highlight that. The board's fine with that.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Point of information, are we required to go through this process? This isn't a high value request. I think when we were starting this process in 2021, I saw that other communities just go ahead and ask one firm. And then we are not forced into this like lowest cost bidder. And I want to understand whether we have to do an RFQ process.
The last quotes you received were all over the minimum threshold for an RFQ.
They were over 10,000. Is 10,000 the minimal threshold?
Yes, yes. I think you actually paid 12,000. So
Mhm. Okay, I had thought that they had raised that threshold.
I thought they did as well to 25,000. Because I bid on contracts all the time and anything under 10 was always automatic for me. But now it's 25. As far as,
That's private sector, right?
well, no, because I deal with.
Oh, you do what you
housing
do with
authority.
housing authorities, right?
let me look at that.
Karen might be correct, but I think it changed right around the time of the last search that went out.
That would save a lot of time.
To Jenny.
Yeah.
I don't believe.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at the statute to see what was changed in 2022.
Even DCAM
Executive
stuff
search.
changed.
Yeah, no, a number of things have changed. You're not wrong. Yeah.
It still says 10,000 and not more than 50. Let's see.
Over 50, it's like IFB or RFP for different, yeah, and we're not at that point.
That's one question. So, Jenny, you said we can kind of select the folks to offer it to. Does that mean that if someone tries to bid unsolicited, are they able to do that? In other words, we haven't asked for it, but they bid anyway?
Yeah, that brings up a tricky scenario that hopefully won't come up. But I think that you could find a way to screen those out. You're supposed to use a written scope of work to solicit responses from no fewer than 3 persons who customarily perform the work. It's not an open process. So
Solicit's the keyword.
yeah.
Thank you. So Jenny, you're reading from a 2022 something. So was anything amended at all from what you're reading? From what it was before, or, because if Karen and Chris think it went up to 25, I'm wondering if there's kind of an asterisk or an amendment somewhere or something but if 2022 is very recent, but.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I can share my screen. I'm reading the statute itself.
Stop sharing. Go ahead, Jenny.
Okay. Share screen. Correctly? Can you see it?
It's coming.
I mean, it needs to be a little bit bigger even for my
You
eyes.
need me to make it bigger?
Alright.
How's that? That may be too big. Hang on, let me find a different way to do that. I don't know that I can do it in different.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
All right, okay. So I'm just trying to compare the two. This was effective until November 2022. And this
Yeah.
is how it's been amended.
So there's a couple
So it
more,
looks like there's more notice.
yeah, looks bigger, yeah.
And there's a difference for regional school districts.
Okay, so it seems like it's the same.
Yeah, no,
Regional school district went up to 100,000 instead of 50,000.
Okay,
what changed was building, construction, installation, demolition, maintenance, and repair. So that's what I do with security cameras and all that. So that's why it did go from 10 to 25, and now that's going to 50, but it doesn't
Doesn't
affect.
apply.
You know, you're right. That's odd because they're trying to keep it all consistent. I
Correct.
wouldn't be surprised if we don't see another change soon.
Probably not this week.
But not this one.
thank
But
you.
yeah, you're welcome. I'll stop sharing. But as we've said, we don't have the notice requirements. I think it can be fairly straightforward to get quotes from these folks.
I have a question for Jenny. Jenny, if we have a request from a similar firm that typically does these to be sent the RFQ, but the board hasn't identified that as a particular firm to solicit quotes from, do we need to send the quote to them?
So that's an interesting question. It will be a public record. So, you know, they're entitled to it if they're requesting it as a public record. If you've done your due diligence on them and you decide they don't meet your qualifications and you don't want to solicit a quote from them, you don't have to ask them for a quote. They might provide you with one anyway, having requested the document. So
Okay,
I would just look into them and, you know, hopefully everybody that is in this business is somebody that, you know, that we would be comfortable doing business with anyway.
thank you.
Emerson,
I'm good for now, yeah.
The context was just, we don't have the same runway, I don't feel, and also since this is so recent and yeah. So anyway, that was the pursuit of that, but if we are forced to go through this process again, great.
okay. Chris,
Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, for me, it's the same. I didn't expect to be going through this process either. Having two girls the same age as Fidel myself, I understand that he made the decision for them, and it's not a slight against Reading. And anyone who thinks differently just has to watch after the Chelsea meeting had ended. Just seeing, you know, the 50, 60 people in the room all supporting and hugging him and everything else. It's not like this is Canton or Haverhill or something. He's going back home for his family. So, but with this process, usually, like I say, we're going to discuss one meeting about the next, but we've discussed this previously. So I'm fine with voting on this as well.
okay, thank you.
To Mark's point, I feel like we have just gone through this process very recently, and so I want to make sure that this document doesn't commit us to that timeline and just confirm that we could really talk about whether we need to go as deep as we did last time. That was a once after 9 years. And I think we could spend less time to sort of confirm that the community profile that we came up with last time is still valid. I don't want to waste a lot of time redocumenting what we know. To Chris's point, I think a lot of people in this community are very, very happy with the selection that we made. And so that would imply that the foundation on which we made it is still sound. So I don't mind doing a sanity check and tweaking it a little bit, but I really don't think we need to do a deep dive. So I just want to make sure we're not committing ourselves to another 2 or 3 weeks worth of work when we are probably faced with a shorter timeline.
Do you have any amendments that you would suggest? I mean, I understand the proposed timeline is a proposed timeline, but are there certain?
Well, I guess the question is, number 3, meet with stakeholder, the whole paragraph number 3, that's going to take a lot of time.
Which page?
Three.
The scope of work, the consultant shall. Section 3, we did a lot of work last time. I don't think that what came out of that process and that's why I sent her the, what do we call that? The town manager profile from last time. If we take a look at that, I saw a few things that we tweaked because things have changed. And, you know, we weren't good at grants last time, but now we are. So maybe we represent that we are in a different place a little bit, but I think that's more from a management place versus what does the community need? I think some of the fundamentals that we asked for when we were out recruiting before are still the same: an engaged, visible person with strong financial background. I don't know everything that we said, but so I'm hesitant to commit to another deep dive to this. I don't think we need to do that. I think we did a good job. It's been 17 months. And so that might be an opportunity for us to save some time and spend more time really recruiting the good candidates and getting to know them and focusing on that process. And hopefully, maybe we pull it in a little bit. I don't know. With the holidays and that kind of makes it stick. But it also requires work of staff to even undergo number 3. That was quite a lot of work.
Mark?
Thanks, Jackie. I agree that I think we'd streamline, but I think it would really be in everyone's interest to have a listening session, to get buy-in, I guess continued buy-in in some sense, and a voice in terms of what's happening. I don't suspect that there's massive difference. I think that one of the great results of doing this work in Fidel's timeframe was community buy-in to everything. And I just want to make sure that we kind of keep that going. As I look at some of the other things, I agree. I think some of them there are some tweaks definitely, but it's not like starting from scratch on anything.
Okay.
I think those can definitely be faster. But I think it's a good discussion, to do that. I think this is a listening session.
Yeah.
I think a listening session is right, or a community forum is. I think that's reasonable.
Chris?
And Jackie? Yeah, I'm fine with how it is, as much as we don't think that the community is gonna completely shift gears the way that things have been for the last 22 months or whatever. We still have to have, a public forum where people can voice their opinions, et cetera. Maybe it's all Fidel did XYZ all fantastically. We want this kind of stuff to continue, or maybe nobody shows up and it is what it is. But we still have to have it. So yes, a community listening session, I agree with.
I am okay with the RFQ draft as amended. I agree that one forum on toward the beginning of the process after a consultant is selected is a good idea. And of course, we'll have future select board agenda items once a consultant is chosen, and then also, of course, to nominate a screening committee.
I got a question, I guess, for the 5 of us. Number 1, meet with the select board approximately 5 times. That happened? You guys remember?
I remember Bernie being on Zoom
Yeah,
a
but
bunch of times.
5? Should we word it up to 5 times? Because that doesn't change anything, but, and then, yeah, I'm just suggesting it. If we word it up to 5 times, it's still 5 times. If we want to hold one, if we don't need a 5th, we can have 4. That's just a suggestion. I remember at least 3 or 4 times. I don't remember 5. If we're including the last one, then yes, the final, then maybe, but So it's just a small suggestion that I have, but no big deal.
Can I ask, is this, was this put in there this way to kind of allow the people bidding on this to figure out the scope of work? So they're kind of planning, okay, if I'm gonna be here X times, it's that much I put into
Yeah.
the budget.
Exactly.
Probably is a guess is what they're doing. So it may be.
Yeah, okay. I get
It's, yeah, so they can price their time.
you. Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. But, yeah, well, I think the price is gonna be the price regardless, but yeah, that's a good point.
Just, did we really put 5 times? Because we didn't know how many times we needed. Or is this a new addition because now it's,
No, I didn't change that.
okay, so we actually got that specific. Okay, I don't remember that. I feel like we know more now, but back then, how would we know 5 would be the right number? I would be expecting our consultants to tell us, but I think it was close enough one way or another. Yeah, okay.
So do you want me to share this again?
Sure.
Um,
Shane's turn, that kind of a question.
Yeah.
So Jenny, in terms of order of operations, let's say we're set and we vote, we go. We have to think about which firms we want to solicit, recruit. Do we think about that list first and then issue this? Do we issue it first and then think about who they are? What's the order of operations?
I would have Jane do her due diligence on those firms and then just have, and if you guys approve this, I'd have her just let it rip. You know, she'll get those proposals and she can select the low quote and communicate that to you guys.
So we'd be asking you, Jane, kind of pronto tanto to be looking at firms and the board to see if that's all good or any questions.
So here's your document. You've previously identified 3 firms already, is my understanding.
Previously, as in 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yes.
Okay,
We actually we didn't know until it came in. We just put it.
No, I think we
Oh,
identified.
Then we did. I know
identified
we researched these. Okay. I missed your.
Yeah, we listened, MMA, I think, had a role in suggesting firms that they have had experience with also.
so I know we have Community Paradigm, who you worked with previously, Mr. Lynch. The Collins Center, Municipal Resources, I'm familiar with that are most likely, and then Grew White Consulting, the other ones who reached out to me this week.
So 4. Yeah.
So-
That was the,
And I know,
Third one
actually know them
previous.
personally.
it was the third one the previous time that ended up not bidding.
I think that was Municipal Resources. Matt, do you remember?
That's different from Collins. Municipal Resources, 2 different ones.
And municipal resources and MRI is the same thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe-
They're located in New Hampshire.
I wonder if maybe we individually could kind of take a peek and see if we have any questions or comments about those.
You can do that for sure.
And direct those to Jane.
So do you want to take some time over the weekend to look at those on your own, and we can talk individually on Monday, or sorry, Tuesday? What would your process be? Because if you approve this, I can email it to these folks tonight, or we can wait till Tuesday and take some more time.
Yes.
A New Hampshire firm is less than ideal. They're gonna have a lot of searches around here. I think we struggled last time finding a great third firm with enough experience. But I see quickly that the firm Drew is already working on a town manager in Falmouth. So either way, I'm happy to say I would be comfortable with Community Paradigm, the Collins Center. I'm not only like, by the way, I should just say that I don't like the idea of recruiting, putting an RFQ to a firm that has like recruited in Reading recently. Not sure how I feel about that, but I do understand that they're a significant market player. And so I think I've heard of Drew before. They come out of Belmont and Lexington, some former town
Yeah,
managers run it.
Yeah, Mr.
Okay.
White is a former town manager of Lexington.
I don't recall why we didn't specifically ask them last time. Maybe
They're a smaller firm.
but at least they are based in Massachusetts, so I think that they will understand our form of government and a lot more about what we're trying to achieve than somebody who's in New Hampshire.
Chris?
Thanks, Jackie. I've lost bids to New Hampshire people before. I'm always miffed by it, but unfortunately, that's the way that it goes. So I've lost bids to Massachusetts people, Rhode Island. It is what it is. I think that if we're putting this out there, it's public. Whoever wants to do it can do it. If it's 3, 4, 5 different vendors, it is what it is. I'm fine with you sending it out tonight to the 4 people, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also leaning toward getting it out. I think we, with the exception of maybe this Drew White, we have a good idea of who these folks are, either from last time or from their other work, so.
Right on their website, I mean, they don't give timelines.
Who's there?
Sorry.
Which one?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Drew White Consulting, they have a selected list of clients, not inclusive. They don't have dates next to them, but it is, it's all Massachusetts communities and municipal light departments.
If they don't meet your quality requirement, they would be, non-responsive, so you would fill that quota.
Okay.
I'm fine going with the group on this.
Okay.
So the only edit that I have, just so that we are refreshing the date on this, is October 5, today's date. Quotes must be returned to the procurement office by October 24. Do you want to make it a little earlier? To give them 2 weeks?
What's the requirement?
Go ahead, Jenny.
There's not a notice requirement, so you guys can.
Okay.
Let's make it earlier.
So if you want to go 2 weeks, that's the 19th. Do you want to do that? Okay, that's great. So I'm asking for that back.
I'm okay with
Okay.
that.
Yeah, and that allows us, because I believe we have a meeting on the 10th next Tuesday, but then the next one is the 25th. So it would be great to have that consultant selected and then be able to.
Do you want to award that at the 25th, or do you want to? Do you want to do? I can tell you who the lowest bidder is and let you know. So you can announce it by the 25th. How's that sound?
I think that's a good idea.
Yes, it's 24th, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
24th?
24th.
Oh, can we change that to 24th?
No, we said, no.
The meeting.
Yeah, but the 2 weeks is from today. Right, so that's 19th.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is like really brutal. Like we're gonna pick somebody. We're gonna have somebody to help us manage this organization. We have to go with the lowest cost bidder for a $15,000 contract. And we have to go with the lowest cost bidder.
You have to go with the lowest cost bidder.
Call your state legislators. for that.
Well, it's a responsive and responsible. So they have to meet your 3 awards in 3 years. And these are all considered very good consultants. They are well-versed in placement in Massachusetts.
True, and yeah, it's when you have a very good experience with someone before, and you want to be efficient and not reinvent the wheel and not slow the process. Inviting somebody that you don't even know and being forced to pick them because they're the lowest cost bidder It's not a good way to do business. So I'm struggling with this.
I can appreciate that. But it should result in a competitive process that will, and they all understand how this works, to drive down the cost and will ultimately result in a better price for the taxpayers. That's the intent of the process.
That's what we did last time, yeah.
Thanks, Jackie. I will say in my own thing, when I go out to bid for stuff, I've taken the bullet and went lower, gambling that someone else was gonna go. Because the contract is public from before, they know exactly the amount to go to. So sometimes, depending on the client, I go lower. And that's just the way that it all pans out. Like you said, it's lowest cost for the town as well. And, you know, it doesn't mean that they're gonna be not as responsible as anyone else. I don't know, the Guru white people, they've been in business since 1999 or whatever that is. That's a long time to be in business and survive the pandemic. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, we're stuck between that, the fact that we're gonna be over the $10,000 floor for this. And, we have had recent experience. So, but, we know regardless that we want to move in the right way, but also fairly quickly, so. Well, with that in mind, I ask if anyone has a motion to approve the RFQ as amended.
So moved.
Thanks, Karen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mark. All those in favor?
Before you do that,
Yeah.
quick discussion.
Oh.
Just one question. So to Carlos' point, if we're asking, we want to reward it on the 24th of October,
Mhm.
so this says October 26th, consultant meets with select board and discuss process and timeline. That's the selected group. I just want to make sure these dates all now work as we want.
Where are you? Are you
On page 4,
page
bottom, proposed timeline.
Okay,
So probably is a little unreasonable to award and then have them be at the meeting, right?
you could have them at the meeting. It's a proposed timeline, so, and if we're awarding it on October 19th or October,
Yeah, it's 5 days.
Yeah.
you have some time to invite them to attend that meeting. This is a proposed timeline. It is not, you are not boxed in or committed. It's just an intent to show kind of what you're thinking.
But if the 19th, see the bids, make sure everyone's compliant, see what the winning bid is, to actually award it, does the board need to meet?
I don't, Jenny, I'll defer to you, but I think I can award it based on the lowest.
I think you can award it.
Okay, so maybe do we want to just keep this timeline? So if our meeting's the 24th, that would give just a couple more days. That seem still reasonable? I mean, I certainly wouldn't make it longer. The question is, should it be
Yeah.
brought in?
Right. I mean, it's in black and white, so when the people see this, they're gonna know what they're dealing with. So I think that's gonna be part of their process. Do they have the bandwidth? Do they have the people? I mean, I'm just, I know we went through this last time through the holidays as well. But we had 2 more months. And now we're, before we know it, it's gonna be November and then, so I think, yeah.
So leave it as is.
Yeah,
I would say that for, if we didn't have Zoom capability, then, it might be a little leery, but Bernie, I don't think was ever in person way back then. It was all on Zoom. So,
at the end he was, at the end. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the final,
In the beginning, I think.
maybe one in the beginning. Yeah, he was mostly on Zoom.
but yeah, I mean, they can meet on Zoom and that's that. Or come in person.
I'm set.
So the only change I have really was the 3 awards in 3 years. That was the big stuff, and the date that we changed the 19th. And
And then the award now is it's the 19th. Okay.
yeah, Yeah, and do you seek to award the executive contract by October 25th? You'll announce it at your 24th meeting.
Okay.
That's
Yes.
the goal. So
Okay.
we can have it done. Yeah. And we'll keep you informed.
We have to vote first.
Yeah, oh, indeed. Oh, indeed.
Okay, well, we had a motion and a second, so all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, 5-0, and I think that's it for the agenda, so motion to adjourn, is there a motion? to adjourn?
Second.
Thanks, Carlo. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, we're 5-0 and we're adjourned. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Penny.
A good one.